everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today on this day, I have with me a gentleman by the name of Akin Walker. He is the founder of MV Soaps, MV Soaps, a luxury skincare line that inspires Black men to invest in their personal skin care and wellness. Looking forward to hearing about the wonderful, awesome work that he's doing, especially the social impact that he has, that he's using his company for. But first and foremost, as I always do, I'd like to take a quick moment to pause, say thank you to you for making time for me today. Time is a gift. Once we give it, we cannot get it back. So I appreciate you carving out the space in your day to talk to little old me. And with that, sir, welcome to the show. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to have this discussion. Awesome. I'm excited to learn. I was going through your website and learning everything I could today before talking to you. And one of the first things I noticed was that you make your product in small batches, and it's all natural ingredients. And as I read natural ingredients, it made me reflect back on growing up with my dad. And I used to, as a little girl, watch my dad use this product called Magic Shave and a butter knife to shave his beard off. A lot of brothers in that generation use that stuff. Yeah. And I always wonder what was in there. But getting ready for today, and especially with you using natural products, natural ingredients, I'm wondering, when brothers are out there shopping in stores for stuff to put on their face, what are some of the things they should be looking for to not like, no, not that. Oh, no, not that. Let me put that back on the shelf. I'm not going to put that on my face, on my body, or whatever. So what should they be looking for?
For sure. No, I think that's an excellent question. I like to tell people, first and foremost, it's good to be able to read the actual ingredients on the packaging that you see, right? You should be able to pronounce at a very minimum. So if you're having some trouble pronouncing what you have on the packaging for your personal care items, for your skincare, for your grooming products, I think that that's kind of a red flag. But more specifically, you should be looking out for things that end with parabens. That's one example. Okay. So parabens are essentially things that the ingredients that a lot of manufacturers for cosmetics will include that really they infuse a lot of estrogen into these products, so it can actually cause some hormone imbalances if you use a whole bunch of these kinds of products. So you should be looking at products, if they have any kind of parabens in it, you want to refrain from that, I would recommend. And then also there are some other products that will include some agents that will help with foaming and also with the lather. An example is sodium lauryl sulfate. That's something that you should definitely also stay away from. Again, these are ingredients, you look at them, you have no idea what it is, but those are just two examples. Anything with parabens, and then also the sodium lauryl sulfate, you don't want to include that in your regimen at all.
So a lot of stuff you just can't pronounce at all. Just put it back on the shelf. Okay.
Put it right back.
We got you. Now, I also was on your website and I was reading that as you started this process of creating your line of soaps and doing your research, you read that the government actually considers a lot of the stuff you brothers are putting on your face as a detergent. And I was like, whoa, like Tide, explain that to me. How does this classification come about?
Yeah, so I'd say, more specifically when we talk about soaps. What soaps are supposed to be, it's supposed to be a mixture of oils, like, fats essentially, with some sort of a lye, right? Which is caustic, but when you mix the two and you have this process called saponification, the caustic soda, the lye, I use sodium hydroxide, that's supposed to be rendered neutral, right? Okay. So that is what soap is supposed to be. So what happened was around the time of World War II, there was a fat shortage, right? And so a lot of the materials that would have been made available to make soap in the form of oils was not readily available. So what a lot of these manufacturers would do is they would use these petroleum-based chemicals They would create these things synthetically in the lab, and a lot of those ingredients are still around today. So for example, that sodium lauryl sulfate, right? Those kinds of ingredients have been included in a lot of cosmetic products because of that heritage and that situation that happened so many years ago, right? So now you have this resurgence of, products that are more natural, that are coming out there, that are true soap, for example, right? That's so, yeah. I hope that explains and clarifies.
Okay. You mentioned Vaseline, and I flash back to my grandmother. She would line all of the cousins up and slather Vaseline on our face before sending us out.
That was like the main skincare that a lot of us were taught growing up, right? Just Vaseline on the face.
You got that one Becky.
Yeah, there you go.
So when you were creating your soap line, especially with natural products, how does that work? Did it take a long time, or how do you determine how to mix all this stuff together?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. I'm actually relatively new to making cosmetics, right? And so I needed to partner with people that had that expertise, right? Because I wanted to make sure that whatever I brought to market was going to be really good. I did start this as a hobby, making soap for myself. So I would kind of look up recipes online. But when I decided to turn this into a business, I started with the claims, right? I started with what I wanted for people to experience with the products, right? So I wanted for it to be a luxury experience, for example, right? And so with that luxury experience, I wanted to make sure the bars felt very creamy to the touch, right? That's one of the things. I wanted for it to be a generous lather, right? There are other things that I considered, like kind of like stability also in the manufacturing from a cost, and then also just pure manufacturing perspective. So we use coconut oil rather than maybe like an olive oil or another type of oil. That makes it a lot easier for for the soap to really produce a really wonderful experience, but at the same time, it eases the manufacturing process for myself. So I focus on those things. I also wanted for the bars to be very nourishing. I wanted for it to help to lock in moisture. And that's why you see all that, all that verbiage around ashiness and annihilating ashiness. So those are themes in our community that, we want our products to help to address. And so I worked with a chemist to do that. I am going through my own kind of formulation studies right now, so I can learn how to do this formulation on my own. But by trade, so a little bit about me, during the day, I'm actually a tech sales person. So I work for a company that's based in Ireland. I'm helping to grow the Americas business, but I'm in technology, but I'm growing this business because this is a huge passion of mine.
An internet geek who creates soaps. Who would have ever thought? Who would have ever thunk it? Who would have ever thunk it?
Yeah.
And kudos to Ireland, because Ireland celebrates Black History Month, but only they do it in October. But quick plug in some geek news from me. But anyways, you mentioned that it is a luxury brand, and you mentioned ashiness. Yeah. So that brings a certain demographic, especially in the Black male market. But my question to you is, let's say you're standing and you're giving a pitch to some brothers.
Yeah.
And they're not really your typical luxury guys, truck drivers, mechanics, sanitation workers. And they're sitting there looking at you and they're saying, Mr. Walker, I ain't got time for no foo-foo soaps. Ashiness is what I do. What would be the pitch to convince them, man, you need to invest more in your skincare. This is for you too.
Exactly. No, that's a great question. I will say, just like any company that's trying to position products, not everybody is, the messaging is not going to necessarily resonate for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. But what I will say is that a huge part of my brand is to actually educate Black men on the importance of their own personal care. And this is a theme that I continue to see, is that a lot of Black men they were never educated on the importance of skincare. They're never educated on the importance of just general self-care. right? And the life expectancy for Black men is not what it is for white counterparts. And so I'm trying to be a part of that narrative to extend life expectancy for Black men and look at the whole Black man, right? And that's, I know we're going to get into some conversations about the social impact side of it. But yes, this soap is this is made for Black men. This is by a Black man. It's completely masculine for you to care about your skin and for your skin to be healthy, right? And so I completely acknowledge not everybody is going to, my message is not going to resonate for everybody, but that is the conversation that I'm having and I'm willing to have with anybody.
Awesome. It might be helpful to take the ladies along because we can say, look, we don't like the rough sandpaper stuff rubbing against us anyway, so you better use Mr. Walker's product anyway.
Exactly. How's your wife feel about that? Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you brought up the social impact. Your company donates 10% of the profits to back into the Black community, and I think that's awesome. That's amazing. Wonderful. My question to you is, why was it that you decided to do that, or why was that important for you to do?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I will say that social business and social entrepreneurship has always been something that's really captivated me. I studied business in college, and when I was in my economics class, I remember learning about just the foundation of our society and capitalism and all that stuff, right? And one thing that we learn is that the very purpose of most businesses is to maximize profit. That's the goal of most organizations. And I'm more of an ideologue, right? I want to see the world a better place. I literally want to leave the world better than the way that it was when I came into it, right? And so the idea of creating a business and infusing social impact into the DNA and the actual mission of the organization, of any business that I started, has always been something that really mattered to me. So why mental health more specifically? I can talk about that. Around the time that I decided to start this business, I actually had a good friend of mine. He was a childhood friend. We had kind of lost touch. He had passed away. And the circumstances around his death, I just felt as though if he had somebody that he could confide in, that he could really talk to about the challenges, the things that was going on in his life, he wouldn't have been suffering in silence. Gotcha. And that tends to be that's another theme, I think, within our community, especially for men, where we feel like we need to be strong. We don't know how to be vulnerable. We don't know how to ask for help, right? I'm not saying that you need to be vulnerable with absolutely everybody, but the truth of the matter is that, we have things that we need to deal with. And I think that there's a lot of trauma in our community and we need healing, right? And so his story really, that really drove me to decide to focus on it. I was also dealing with anxiety myself at the time, which is another part of the reason why I decided to start this brand. I was, dealing with my own anxiety. Soap making became very therapeutic for me, actually, right? And so that's how I got into the hobby. And then, of course, it translated into becoming a business eventually. But my friend Isaac, who passed away, he's a huge inspiration for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, social entrepreneurship is very important, very vital. And you chose to target the Black community. And a lot of times in my conversations with Black entrepreneurs over the years, doing business with us can be a little difficult. Let's just, I love us, but it can be a little difficult. But some of us in the entrepreneurship field don't feel like they should have social entrepreneurship, give back to the Black community. What would you say to them to kind of say, look, I need you to reconsider, you need to kind of invest back into us? What would you say to them?
Well, I'd say if we don't do it, who's going to do it? Every other community, that's what they do. They invest. And, I think it's like a capacity building thing, right? The more that we invest and reinvest in our community and solve some challenges, then it elevates us all, right? And it allows for us to participate in the economy and, our mutual economy and support one another in ways that's more productive. So if we don't look to solve these problems, we can't look to politicians, in my opinion. We can't look to politicians to do this, maybe on the local level, but let's just be real about where we find ourselves today. There's just a lot of stuff that's not getting done. And we who are creating the jobs and, actually creating these kinds of products and this ecosystem through entrepreneurship, we have an amazing opportunity to change things. Awesome. Right. And again, I am an ideologue. I know I may sound a little naive, but that's just the way I see the world. And, I think the best way to do it is to be that example as well. And I'm trying to put my money where my mouth is.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. And let me quickly say to the Black consumer, when you run across the Walkers in the world that are trying to do positive things in the Black community, please stop asking for half price. Please stop asking for the hookup. Please support them and give them their value, their worth. It's the only way we're all going to thrive as a community. So please, the consumer part, give us because we will go and pay somebody else their value without even questioning it. So please.
Yeah. And I will say, just to add on to that, I think we do have a responsibility as entrepreneurs to make sure that we are delivering the best service possible. Right. And so, while I agree, definitely within the Black community, we can do a lot better at supporting one another. But I think entrepreneurs need to be educated on how to deliver quality customer service and products and all those kinds of things, right? So that, when we go out into the world and we're interacting with all different kinds of brands, like they're giving us this quality, right? Then that becomes the expectation. And I think things are changing now where, we're getting hip to that. And a lot of Black entrepreneurs, they're leveling up, they're giving quality service. But there's definitely been a lot of, we've had to be like re-educated in how to do that and, basically bring our best because that's what people expect now.
Yes, indeed. I'm not going, it's my money coming out of my pocket. Well, that's a good point. And now that we're on this topic, when it comes to Black entrepreneurship, do you have any other tips or advice for the person who is aspiring to be an entrepreneur, especially in our community?
Yeah, for sure. I would say believe in your dreams. Like, mindset is everything when it comes to entrepreneurship. It's difficult. It's not easy. So just believe that you actually have something that's of value and it's worth monetizing as well. Like your brand is worth monetizing. You really have to believe that. And that's going to keep you from, settling for the half offs and the hookups and all that stuff too. Because we got mouths to feed, right?
Yes.
So that's one thing. I'd also say that it's important to be a part of communities. So where you have the opportunity to connect with other entrepreneurs that you can learn from and just learn the tricks of the trade. Don't worry about competition so much. I try and elevate and support other Black-owned soap makers as well, right? Other skincare. So it needs to be more community over that competition.
Gotcha.
So we need to change our mindset and not have such a mindset of lack, but one of abundance and knowing that there's so much out there for all of us to be able to benefit from, rather than thinking, I just need to get mine. I'm going to be in my silo, right? And, it may work out for you, but there's so much the world has to offer. There's so much you can learn from your fellow entrepreneurs, right? And I'm all about learning from other people's mistakes, so I don't repeat those mistakes personally. And so those are two things that I would definitely say.
Awesome. Good stuff. I love it. Especially I love to see the young folks with just mind focus going. Let me transition here because you've got a book that I want to make sure I get to. Not only do you do soaps, you got a book, you're doing stuff. Now, I don't know, probably turn my head, you're doing something else. But let's talk about this book real quick. Let me make sure I read this right. Black Men You Never Knew, and it's an ebook that you have out, and it discusses Black men healing from trauma. And this is a new concept. I've said earlier my age, and I'm assuming there's a vast age difference between us. But my age group, Black men, really didn't talk about trauma. They didn't really, it was. The way to cope with that was probably at the end of a bottle or bottom of a bottle or whatever. So I'm wondering, Why do you see a shift in Black men willing to talk about their mental wellness and actually go on a journey to heal and kind of overcome this trauma? Because this is a new thing.
I think one of the first things that has happened, I mean, it's definitely generational, right? I think that previous generations, just maybe they didn't necessarily have the luxury, honestly.
Okay.
To really focus on these things the way they needed to, or the resources and the tools, right, to even have these kinds of conversations that we're having. But there are new conversations that are starting that, and it's very encouraging through so many different platforms where men are being vulnerable, they are opening up. And I think that we just can't deny the kind of patterns that we see within our community and within ourselves, right? And I think it's just gotten to a point where it's undeniable. It's undeniable that we have challenges, right? And I think that there's still a lot of stigma within the Black community associated with therapy and mental health in general and mental wellness. But I think that we're bringing down barriers. And it's through more and more conversations. I think it's through research. But I think it's also because now people have more tools to actually talk about these things, which is so critical, like the actual language that we can formulate and talk about these things. And for, I think those are the reasons why this conversation is changing and it's evolved so much.
I love it. I love it. It just creates a wonderful atmosphere for our whole community. Now, I had a quick thought. You have an interesting dynamic within you. You are Liberian American. I'm just wondering, culturally, is this shift to dealing with trauma on that side as well, or is this just for American brothers?
Yeah, that is an excellent question, and nobody has asked me that question before. But African, especially West African, Liberia, where I'm from, I still think that the conversation is still new. Maybe it's still pretty nascent. It's still really early on. So if not familiar with the history of Liberia, Liberia actually went through many years of civil conflict. My family were actually refugees from the war there, the civil war that broke out in 1990. So we came here with the clothes on our backs. And growing up, my parents' generation, they never talked about the kind of trauma, like the death that they saw, right? This civil war took out like a quarter of the population. So everybody lost at least 2 to 3 family members. But you never heard any conversation about PTSD, any of these things, right? And so even today, I still struggle having these conversations with family members of that generation, right? About really addressing the trauma that they faced. My generation, we're fine. Like, we can have these conversations. We're all like, oh yeah, we need therapy. I know I need therapy because, we're completely open about it. But I think also because we are, a lot of us very Americanized. I came here when I was 2 years old, right? So America is essentially all that I've ever known. And the culture is very different, very open. And I think that's definitely benefited us. And I hope that my parents' generation, they can see the benefits of therapy and whatnot, but it really is an uphill battle.
Got you. Yes, I have a few friends from different African countries, and the mentality always reminds me of some very old school Southern Black folks. We don't talk about it, we don't address it, and that's just what it is, and suck it up. And it's just it's very a toxic soup of just chaos, mental chaos.
You got that right on the money. That's exactly what it is. Toxic soup, and everything is swept under the rug, right? Not saying that there can't be American families that do the same thing, but I think it's just very widespread, just the default for a lot of African homes.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, well, we brought that with us over here on the ship. So we got that from you guys on it. So we're all together. Now, what was again? One quick question I want to make sure, because you have some free stuff on your website, and as Black folks, we love free. So what is the free stuff and how do they get the free stuff?
Yeah, so we actually have a skincare guide for Black men,
Gotcha.
right?
Okay.
So that's one thing. Actually, I'd say that's the primary free thing. We also
Mhm.
have a blog.
Okay.
Haven't been around for too long, right? So
Good.
we just launched direct to consumer in November, so it's still a very new brand. But I'm always trying to figure out new things to bring to the people to uplift and increase that knowledge, because education is a huge part of it. So this skincare guide, it's things that I've learned about how to improve my skincare. And, I'm not a dermatologist, but there's some things there that really have worked well for me. Like, for example, just using sunscreen is very important for our skin. A lot of people think, okay, well, that's a white people thing.
Mhm.
Right now, no, we can get skin cancer too,
Go back to the truck drivers, man. We don't even know foo skin cream. Sunscreen. This Walker guy, I don't know about him, man. He's talking about.
Yeah, but I put on sunscreen every single day, right? And so not only does that help with my complexion and my tone and whatnot, but it also protects my skin. So it's little tidbits like that. I really want for Black men to know that taking care of your skin and personal care, these are masculine things. You can see I'm a very masculine guy. Like there's nothing wrong with not being masculine, but I think just culturally, people don't even want to have these discussions or focus on these things because they think it's associated with other things, and it just doesn't have to be. It just doesn't. So
I mean, from a woman's perspective, I'm just saying we appreciate it. There's nothing worse than having a hand run down your arm, like, oh, that hurts. I remember being a little girl. When my dad, his stove would come in, he'd be like, I'm like, oh, that hurts. So I mean, it's very. I mean, from our end, it's a very welcome thing. That the work that you're doing in the industry and in that niche. So we appreciate it from
Thank you.
Now, going through your Instagram, I saw some very adorable pictures of some little ones.
Yep.
Some little walkers, and it seems like they were helping dad out make his soaps. And I'm wondering, have you introduced them to healthy skincare routines? And because I'm assuming the body washes for kids is just as toxic, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, we use the soaps that we make here. That's what my boys, we're all, for our hand soap, for our body soap, that's what we're using here in this house. I haven't gotten into, I would say, the nitty gritty really of skincare and having a regimen for them. But there are things that we do, for example, the sunscreen, where we put that on their bodies, things like that. And they see me, like I actually take some time, right, with my morning routine and my evening routine. The boys sometimes see that. So they already know in this household that it's completely fine for you to be a man and to take care of your skin.
Awesome. That was so cute. And they had on their little things. And I was like, oh, I'm just a sucker. I'm a sucker for family and everything, just wonderful stuff. Now, also in those pictures I saw, it was the missus.
Yes.
And, I'm just going to put myself, she's probably the backbone, just kind of glues everything together there. That's generally what we do. But it makes me think of, the media tries to pit Black men and women against each other, a lot of times. And many of us buy into it, unfortunately. But I try to do my small part to kind of mend a lot of the emotional rift that's going on between us. And I try to ask brothers as I travel through this world, what can we do as Black women to kind of help you guys, keep you guys inspired, help you guys heal, help you guys invest in your personal care, help you guys buy Mr. Walker soap. How do we be the best counterpart we can for you guys in your journey?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that question so much. But what I will say is I think that Black women are amazing already. The majority of the supporters of this brand and the ones that are educating their husbands and their boyfriends and the men in their life or the boys in their life are the women, right? So women are already doing an incredible job.
Awesome.
I think that honestly, I try and flip the script and see what we can do as Black men to support you all more. That's a conversation that doesn't happen enough. Black women, you guys are amazing. You continue to support, you continue to uplift. And irrespective of what the media says, I know Black women have my back, and they continue to have my back. Conversations like this one, the one that you have just facilitated right here, is an example of that. You don't know me from Adam, but you saw that I was I'm trying to do something to make the world a better place, and you say, hey, let me see what I can do to support this brother. That means the world.
So sweet, so sweet. Just a quick question while you were talking. A lot of times with Black products, what happens is they grow, they thrive, they become a tool for an avenue for money making, a large avenue of money making. And what happens is a white company will come along and buy them out.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Nope. This is for the community. This is absolutely 100% for the community. Yep. This is staying private. There are a whole bunch of, white owned, very large companies that are private, and they doing their thing. No, we need more brands like this one that continue to support the community and just the community. I've seen too many, companies that have started stuff similar to what I've done, and then they sell to like Procter and Gamble, for example, and the message completely changes. It's a completely different company. It doesn't feel as authentic anymore. Yeah. And I don't ever want to lose that. I don't want to lose the novelty of that.
I love it. I love it. I know when I'm going down the aisle, like shampoo and stuff, and you see shampoos with shea butter and all, I'm like, how much shea butter is actually in there? I don't know, because I know this company bought it out and they start tweaking, but I'm so happy to hear that and stay in that mental place, stay in that headspace. I just love it. I love it. Well, sir, we're going to do my random question, and then I'm going to ask you how people can connect with you. I saw on Instagram you were a vendor at an event, so maybe we can catch up with you at any events coming up soon or anything. Yeah. Well, we'll find out. Let me do this. Let's see what we got. Oh, well, this is my problem. If you had to give up your phone for a week, which app would you miss the most?
Ooh, phone for a week. You know what? I gotta say, I'm gonna just be completely transparent here. I like TikTok. I like not necessarily creating the content, but I mean, TikTok entertains me so much. It's such a hilarious app. So that has been an amazing source of entertainment for me. So I think I would probably miss that the most, to be honest with you.
Wow. I am not on TikTok. I'm so like anti-social media at this point.
Yeah. No, good for you. Good for you. I wish I could be more anti-social media, but I like needed to run my business too. So there's that balance all the time, right? It's like, oh man, I hate social media. Oh, I need social media. So, but yeah, I'll be transparent.
I understand. TikTok. Okay. Well, Mr. Walker, tell us how we pick up the soap, how we connect with you. How, if you got an event coming up that we can probably catch you at in person, just give us the whole lowdown.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of events that are coming up, July 2nd here in Frederick, Maryland, we're going to be a part of the Soul Street Farmers Market. So Soul Street is sustaining our unique legacy. That's what it stands for. And so it's a group of, Black-owned businesses that will be selling. So it's going to be our first time doing that here in the Frederick area. So that's what coming up on July 2nd. So you can check out the link in my bio on my Instagram, and my Instagram is at @MV_soaps. So you can see any other updates in terms of events, etc. there. In order to purchase a bar, you can go to mvsoaps.co, not com.co. That's our website. And that's how you can reach us.
Awesome. And that's where they get the book as well, right?
So the book is actually on Gumroad, and so that's available for pre-order right now. I'm still finishing it up, right?
Okay.
So it's available for pre-sale, but I'm still finishing up the book. But you can purchase it for free sale right now. Yep.
Okay. And we'll be expecting lotions and other soaps and all that stuff. When?
So I'm going to be coming out with another fragrance very shortly. I just finished the packaging for that. That's going to be a fresh scent. So right now we have 3 scented soaps. We have a musky, bergamot, sandalwood scented soap. We have our citrus soap, which is like a sweeter scent. We're going to have a fresh scent, right? And then we have our unscented. So that's going to round out our soap collection. Right now, I am learning how to formulate facial cleansers, right? So natural facial cleansers. I'm looking forward to that. Body oils, definitely, and other products. So, yep.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I have truly enjoyed my time with you today. I just love everything that you are about, everything that you stand for. I cannot give you enough kudos. From Auntie over here, I'm so proud of you. So very proud of you. I just love everything you're doing. Just keep on being positive, giving back and growing. And I plan to blink and be like, oh, whoa, wow, he's just amazing. So just love.
I appreciate, Lana. Thank you so much for this conversation and being willing to highlight MB Soaps. Again, you took a chance, right? This opportunity to speak to me, and I don't take that for granted. This means a lot. Thank you.
And that goes both ways, sir. That goes both ways. You took a chance on me, so I appreciate you. Okay.
Yes. For sure.
That is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time. Oh.